two figures crashed through the wall. SCP-106, the Old Man, and SCP-173, the Sculpture. The Old Man's hands had the Sculpture in a death grip, one arm grabbing firmly onto 173's right arm, while clutching its neck with the other. The goo produced by 106's hands churned the concrete into a slimy black liquid. Hot steam began to rise as the gunk ate into the Sculpture. Too occupied in his manic laughter, 106 couldn't see the incoming attack as 173 swung its free arm in blinding speed, knocking the Old Man against the wall.
Strong statue!
He stood back up, holding his side. 173 noted that its attack seemed to work against 106 whenever he wasn't paying attention.
My turn.
The wrinkly humanoid submerged himself in a pool of black mucus beneath his feet and quickly re-emerged partially in another pool that manifested just behind the fancy artwork. He grabbed 173's legs with his hand as more inky black goo secreted.
You fall now!
The corrosive liquid began to eat away at the concrete once more, causing 173 to crumble, a sight which pleased 106 greatly. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today we bring you a tale from the SCP Foundation. The Foundation once again pitted two of its most dangerous anomalies against each other and hoped that neither of them will survive. This time, it's SCP-173 versus SCP-106. SCP-173, the Sculpture, was due for termination, simply because the margin for error to keeping it contained was too thin. Look away even for a second, and necks get snapped just like that. Not to mention that it had the ability to make copies of itself. The Foundation shudders to think of a grim future where swarms of 173 run amok and flood the world. As for SCP-106, the Old Man, he was chosen as 173's opponent for his ability to phase through anything, corroding them in the process. His corrosive mucus could be useful against the Sculpture's concrete build. 106 can also drag his victims into a personal pocket dimension, of which the Foundation hoped to be the case for SCP-173. Lock the murderous peanut in there forever, and one more housing space open to contain other less troublesome anomalies. They cared not what 106 will do to 173 in his dimension. 106's cruelty was simply a bonus at that point. The dismembered bodies of D-Class subjects were removed from the area. Then, a rectangular locker was wheeled in, accompanied by a team of 5 MTF operatives. They entered the cell in a coordinated pattern, with their weapons at the ready. They cautiously opened the locker door. In it stood SCP-173 in all its glory, arms outstretched, unmoving, yet horribly terrifying. The team retreated towards the exit while maintaining eye contact with it. Everything good so far. No hiccups, yet. As they neared the exit, a black pool of goo formed on the wall. One of the MTF soldiers got pulled in forcefully, his screams drowned out just as fast as he yelled. In a panic, the team accidentally moved their attention away from 173 for a second, and that was all it took. In the blink of an eye, the men dropped dead as all their necks were snapped. And then, it was silence once more.
New prey.
Several seconds passed, and 106 emerged on the floor in front of 173. The world's most dangerous hobo studied the Sculpture, as if admiring a work of art. 106 grinned and thrust his hands deep into 173's belly. The concrete surrounding his hands began to bubble and burn. In retaliation, 173 shook and brought its arms together in a thunderous clap at 106's head. Unfortunately, it narrowly missed, but it did drive the Old Man back.
Still alive?
173 was in front of him as soon as 106 finished his thought. He quickly sunk into his pocket dimension before the statue's massive arms could make quick work of his noggin. A short timeout. 106 cautiously reappeared a few feet away from 173, who was slowly regenerated. The old man couldn't understand why the statue wouldn't die, but then again, when was the last time he had this much fun? He couldn't remember, but he did come up with a great idea.
Come.
106 decided to extend 173's suffering for fun. He sauntered to the sculpture, grabbed its leg, and dragged it down under. 173's legs crumbled more and more the longer 106 grabbed on. It swung its arms wildly, delivering a series of powerful punches at its kidnapper. The old man, however, wasn't fazed by it one bit. 173's blows simply phased through his intangible body. If 173 could show expressions, it would be one of frustration and anger. It had never faced anything like this. Thus, it could count with clarity the few moments in its life when it actually felt fear. One was during its inception, moments before killing its creator. It was left alone in an empty void a second time before getting pulled back to Earth. Now, this thing. All those moments had made it afraid despite its expressionless outer facade, but now this was terrifying. 173 scanned the area to find something that could work as a weapon against the gnarly old man. The space offered little. It looked just like an old, dirty, and smelly abandoned office. The rooms were full of cubicle spaces with old, dusty, chunky computers that sat on broken desks, rotting wallpapers peeling off the walls, and rotten wooden chairs on the floor. 173 found nothing of use. But now it did understand one thing. 106 needs to be tangible in order to inflict damage onto it. And whenever the old bugger was paying attention to it, he couldn't be hurt. A surprise was in order then. 106 strode towards the crumbling 173, like a lion savoring its meal. Then suddenly, the old man was struck from the side, sending him flying.
What?
He looked at his attacker, but saw another statue emerging from behind 173.
More statue?
Another powerful blow from behind sent the disoriented elderly crashing through the cubicles. 106 scrambled to regain his composure. Just as he sensed a presence behind him, his instincts kicked in and turned intangible, narrowly avoiding a set of stone hands from snapping his neck from behind. Seconds later, several sculptures lunged towards him, but only phasing through his body, as none could touch him. It was time to get serious. The old man immediately vanished, then reappeared in front of the injured sculpture and grabbed its exposed arms.
You died.
106's world was rocked by yet another powerful punch from a different direction, sending him flying into another sculpture that swiftly pulled at his legs and slammed him repeatedly against the ground before tossing him away like a used dish rag. The old man was losing ground, sustaining heavy damage from the 173 gang's attacks. He struggled to get back on his feet. Looking around, he'd come to realize that his dimension was quickly being flooded by a swarm of oversized peanuts. The army of 173 doubled every few seconds. 2, 4, 8, 16, gradually filling every space and every corner. 106 then felt a sudden gush of sensation, a feeling he hadn't felt in ages. Panic. He placed a hand on the ground and opened a portal. A dark, slimy portal formed on the ceiling of the cell. A badly damaged 173 dropped hard on the floor and shattered to pieces. However, the doorway between the dimensions didn't close. A second sculpture fell through, landing on its feet, and then a third, a fourth, until the cell was completely overrun by the sheer amount of 173 popping out. The sculptures poured from the pocket dimension like a waterfall and made no stops to lay waste to the soldiers stationed outside. Once they made quick work of the facility, the 173s turned their attention to the nearest towns, killing millions as they spread. Reinforcements were dispatched. They fought with grim determination against the seemingly endless waves of statues. Tanks fired round after round, bombs were dropped, and blood was shed. An explosion destroyed half a city, but it had little effect on 173's relentless death march. The end of the world had never felt so imminent. We hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. Have a favorite SCP you want to see on this channel? Leave us your suggestions in the comments down below. In the meantime, if you'd like to see more SCP content, then check out some of our other videos right here. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye-bye!